So USC held their first scrimmage over the weekend, and the results, they got Lincoln Riley pretty excited.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching me on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free. I appreciate your support. Show your appreciation, and it means a lot. I can't express it enough. Become a subscriber. It's easy. It's free. Hit that red subscribe button and hit that thumbs up button. Smash it. And because I come at you 5 times a week, Monday through Friday, hit the bell notification button and you will not miss one episode ever. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. FanDuel.com/locked on. I'm going to tell you which part of the scrimmage excited Lincoln Riley the most in just a minute. First, though, I want to give you just a really quick recap from Tuesday's practice. I was out there, and that will be the last practice I will be attending for the next week or so. I'm going to be out of town next week, but I'm letting you know this now because I will still have practice reports for you, but things are going to be changing starting next week anyway. So Tuesday's practice, they were back in the morning. It was a 6:50 a.m. start as opposed to that 6 a.m. start. So I got to sleep in a little bit. Team came out in shorts and shells. Interesting. And that, like I said, it gave me a little extra half hour of sleep. But it doesn't really help, actually, because in Southern California, every minute counts in traffic. So it literally changed that whole algorithm. And when I showed up, Eric McKinney was already standing there at 6:20 a.m. That's right. I was late. Nevertheless, same day, it was the same, new day, same routine as far as what the practice is involved with. The bulk of the squad is doing their skip and stretch conditioning stuff. And I mentioned the team had scrimmaged at least once over the weekend. Saturday was their scrimmage day. And the team's health actually came out of the weekend on the positive side. I didn't notice any additional bodies that were being held out, and even if I did, I wouldn't be able to talk about them unless Lincoln Riley did. However, Riley was happy with what came out of the scrimmage as far as the team's health. And as anticipated, a couple of the guys who have been sidelined, they're back, including Reggie Davis, who he was out there today, didn't have any type of wrap on his hand. So Lincoln Riley said he would only be a couple weeks, and was right on the nose with that one. When we're in practice, we get a very limited time when we could turn our cameras on and shoot video. The cameras are off while the lineup is going through their walkthrough. Left to right, first string, offensive line. And it's not changing. This has been consistent now the last few days. Jonah Monheim, Emmanuel Pregnon, Justin Dietich, Jarrett Kingston, and Michael Tarquin. It looks like Emmanuel has gotten the playbook down, and he is going to be something, unless Gino Quinones can fight and take it back. It looks like Emmanuel will be the starting left guard come San Jose State. And then the skill players, again, I'm not going to tell you where they're lined up, but notice Zach Branch, Brendan Rice, Rayleigh Brown, Marshawn Lloyd, and Dorian Singer. I think everybody can probably figure out Marshawn Lloyd was the running back. The second group, offense. Again, left to right, Miller Moss at quarterback, Elijah Page, Alani Noah, offensive lineman, left guard, Gino Quinones at center, Andrew Malek, right guard, Mason Murphy, right tackle. Here are your defensive groupings that I saw running together. Up front, you had Anthony Lucas, Stanley Taufo, Kyron Bars, and Solomon Byrd. And then behind them, at the linebackers, you had Tackett Curtis running with Mason Cobb. Jalen Smith was at nickel. And then the secondary, you had Sierra Wright and Damani Jackson playing cornerback with Kalen Bullock and Bryson Shaw at the safeties. Next defensive grouping behind them, rush in Jamil Muhammad, Tyrone Taleni, Bear Alexander, Solo, Solomon Tuliapupu. Linebackers, Eric Gentry and Chris Thompson Jr. And then Christian Roland Wallace was your nickel. Corners, Prophet Brown and Jacoby Covington with your safety combination of Max Williams and Anthony Beavers. Don't mention that name too often, so let's get it in there. A couple of more notes and observations from practice on Tuesday. Eric Gentry, look, he's added some weight. We know he's tall. Do me a favor. Do not put on your all-white tights, leggings. It's not a good look. It makes you look really thin. These are some of the things I observed. Everyone's concerned that Eric doesn't look like a middle linebacker. He'll look much more like one if he doesn't wear that outfit. That's all I'm going to say. One of the few times that the two groups that battle in the trenches, they kind of mingled in front of the media, so to speak, on Tuesday's practice. What it was a drill where Micah Banuelos, Tobias Raymond, Amos Talalele, and Andres DeWork, they're the offensive linemen simulating a play that allows the rush ends to kind of work on setting the edge before making the read and deciding, which way to react. The quarterbacks, they were going through all their different throws with the wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. Again, they're doing that against air. The coaches are out there with their long sticks, giving love taps, making sure the guys are taking care of the ball security. Of the throws, the deep end zone corner routes, those were fun to watch. Nothing spectacular, really. Although the freshmen are still working on their timing, with each of the quarterbacks, the throws, the velocity, the arc of the throw, and the way the ball spins. This is the timing that they have to get figured out. You might run a certain pace with Caleb Williams. You might have to run a different pace with Miller Moss or Malachi Nelson. These are the things that get worked out during camp. One drill that we can't film, but it has all 5 quarterbacks throwing a different route simultaneously, which means that the 5 receivers that are running the route tree, they better know what route they're running, because there are 5 footballs in the air at one time. You better know where you're going and which ball to look for. Now, let's get to the scrimmage report. I know you've been all over. Get to it already. Lincoln Riley was asked which players stood out from the scrimmage. Miller Moss was one of the guys on offense. He did say that, he had a turnover early, but he loved the way he bounced back for the rest of practice. A couple of the other names he talked about on offense were right tackle Michael Tarquin and Jacoby Lane, wide receiver. On Lane, his name is being mentioned more often than not recently. And I think it might be time to maybe re-examine that the freshman wide receivers. Remember, Zach Branch, Mekhi Lemon, Deuce Robinson, and then Lane was the next guy in line. I know I had him 4th in the rotation of the freshmen. Lincoln Riley just said he keeps making plays. And I'm saying, don't let Jacoby's youthful appearance deceive you. He's a dog. He likes to compete. So it's a good sign. On defense, Zion Branch was the first name out of Coach Riley's mouth. He had a pick 6. He also forced a fumble. Quote, Zion, he really showed up well. He made some outstanding plays. If you asked me one guy that stood out, it was certainly Zion, end quote. Overall, Riley felt the defense won the scrimmage. because they were more consistent than the offense. Quote, they made more plays and they made less mistakes. He didn't really elaborate, but go with it. The defensive line was heavily emphasized for their scrimmage performance. And that's what's giving Riley the idea that he's going to have a really good defense this year. This is why he's excited. And he started talking in coach speak, a little bit of hyperbole. This is a big week. It's go time. And what he's talking about is the depth chart is starting to reveal itself. And next week, it's mock game week. And then they're right into San Jose State week. So Riley was definitely feeling his juice following practice, reflecting on the scrimmage and what unfolded. In fact, it was one of his longer opening statements before he starts taking questions. It felt like it went on for 3 minutes. It didn't go quite that long, but you get the point. So, coach speak aside, the point that Lincoln was kind of pointing out is that fall camp's almost over. Next week, again, it's mock game week, and then they jump right into San Jose State. So again, the depth chart, it's starting to take shape. Coach Riley said he was pleased with the defense's tackling in the first scrimmage. Quote, a lot of times the first scrimmage tackling is a weak area. Just because you're out there in open field truly for a number of snaps and you're not blowing a whistle, I thought we did a nice job limiting some of the big plays offensively. Jack Sullivan, when he talked to the media after practice Tuesday, said he couldn't pick one sack that stood out from the rest, but he said there were plenty to choose from. Solomon Byrd, he had 4 by himself. That'll get the job done. Mason Cobb is one of the more outspoken leaders of the team, and you'd think he'd been a Trojan for a long time. He talked about, quote, the pain he felt watching USC lose that conference championship game, because believe it or not, he was actually already committed to being a Trojan at that time. He, in my opinion, he has quickly taken over that Travis Dye personality that the team needed, that they lost. Someone asked Mason if, the fingernail tackling was over. It was a joke. It was asked in jest. And so translated, will USC's tackling be better in 2023? Mason loved what he saw from the defense on Saturday during the scrimmage. And he also said that he would love to have the media come out there to watch more practice, because that way you guys wouldn't have to ask me all of the questions. End quote. He was having some fun with it. Hopefully Lincoln maybe considers Mason's suggestion. We'll find out. So it's summertime. We're in August, and that means it's time for you to wear your bird dog shorts. Bird dogs make you look good because they're designed to fit you slimmer through the thigh. No more thick legs rubbing up against that cotton that makes it feel really uncomfortable. Bird dogs make you look good because they're designed to fit you slimmer through the thigh, and they're going to give you that sculptured look. Bird dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon gear, but they fit way better. And they definitely fit way better than regular shorts. Again, that stuff that's stiff cotton, stiff, restricting, it stinks. It sucks. Speaking of stinks, Bird Dogs also uses an anti-stink, anti-sweat wicking fabric, and that's going to keep you cool and dry all day long. I mean, who wants to stink? There's no trading places, not for me. I like wearing my Bird Dogs because I look good, and when I look good, I feel good. You know the movie. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti-style tumbler. That's one of these. Pretty cool. And you're going to get one of those with every one of your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. Use that promo code LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. All right. You can see it there on the rundown. We've talked about practice. We talked about the scrimmage that they had over the weekend. Well, let's jump right into it. I know I got a lot of fans who follow USC recruiting. USC lost another commitment. And it was Dakota Field, the safety wide receiver from Sarah High School, Gardena. He was coming in to play defensive back at USC. Here's what's so interesting. After reconfirming his 100% USC commitment last week, this week, he told Greg Biggins from 24/7 Sports, quote, "This is where I always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be a Duck, so time to turn that dream into a reality. I kind of knew on my last visit, but I had to come home and sleep on it and realize Oregon was where I wanted to be," end quote. So relationships obviously played a big role in this one for him. He continued. From Coach Lanning and Coach Tosh Lapoy, who are from the SEC, to Coach Martin, to Coach Wadood, and so many others. I have a great comfort level there, Field said. It was very impressive to see what Coach Lanning did last year. He went out and got 10 wins in his first year coaching, and those weren't even his guys. They're building something special now, and I think this 2024 class has a chance to be a top 3 to 5 class, and Oregon can make some very serious news very soon, end quote. Well, you know what? Maybe not the exact same words, but he said the same thing about USC. So here's the question, USC recruiting fans who are upset, bent out of shape because USC lost a commitment to Oregon. And I don't want this to come across as, oh, we didn't want him anyways, because USC wanted him. They were recruiting him. But is Dakota a guy who will turn USC into a national champion? I think the answer is no. He's not that guy. He's a guy who I think really likes Oregon. Maybe he wants to get out of Los Angeles. But I also think I think the pressure of Oregon's NIL kind of he let it cloud his thoughts. And then you start hearing that SEC stuff in the background. Look, I get it. Oregon is moving into the big conference with USC, maybe pennies on the dollar. But Oregon is still a stepping stone program. Coaches don't stay there. Hopefully Dakota remembers that. Look, here's another thing that maybe Fields was weighing. USC's secondary is young and it's deep. USC fans, here's what you need to remember. If there is a hole, the transfer portal will fill that spot really quickly. Lincoln Riley has shown he knows how to use that transfer portal like a boss. We're going to get into that here shortly, real shortly. I'm going to show you how. So if Dakota feels Oregon's the place for him, great. I wish him nothing but success. I harbor no ill wills whatsoever. But there are other guys out there, including Sione Laule, the #1 JC cornerback from San Mateo Junior College. He's still out there. Look, here's what you need to know about Dakota. He was a heavy Oregon lean when he committed to USC. Then he claimed he was 100% committed to USC, and then he flipped a week later. He was also a guy who was recruiting for USC. He was one of those leaders in those text chat groups. Trust me, I've seen it. I lurked in the shadows. So at this point, I think you just want to move on. I don't see why USC, Dante Williams, should waste any more time recruiting him. He's made it clear he wants to be at Oregon. And I don't know if you can take his words at face value. Again, I wish him nothing but success. This is the life and the mind of 16, 17-year-olds and how recruiting works. Oregon has to do it this way. They have to push NIL. They have to sell their brand. I mean, what else are they going to sell? Their championships? No. And for all of you who are out there saying, well, USC lost another recruiting battle to Oregon. Okay. How many of those recruiting wins for Oregon actually panned out? They've had some success. Where's Justin Flo? Where's Kingsley Suamataia? Those are just a couple. I mean, and I can name off a few more, but I'm limited in time here. So, look, here's what everyone really, truly needs to understand. College football is changing really fast, probably too fast. High school recruiting is important, but it's changed. Look how close USC was winning the Pac-12 conference and making the playoffs in 2022. This is what will make the difference in 2023. I'm going to break this down for you. We're talking about the transfer portal and how quickly it can change a team's outlook, take them from pretender to contender. Here are possible defensive transfers from last year and this year that could be in the starting lineup against San Jose State. Jacoby Covington, Bryson Shaw, Christian Roland Wallace, Mason Cobb, Eric Gentry, Keon Bars, Anthony Lucas, Bear Alexander, Jameel Muhammad, Jack Sullivan. If they're not starting, they're playing. Let's flip to the offensive side just to kind of drive this point home. Caleb Williams, Marshawn Lloyd, Taj Washington, Dorian Singer, Brendan Rice, Mario Williams, Jarrett Kingston, Emmanuel Pregnon, Michael Tarquin. These are the guys you hear the names mentioned the most. You sprinkle in USC's high school recruiting class, not too bad. Does losing a commitment suck? Yes, without a doubt. You never want to lose a commitment. However, let's see how these recruits feel in December when one program is playing for a playoff and the other is paying high school recruits to believe they're going to be a difference maker and Oregon is going to be the team to be. All right. Third segment here of the show. Throughout the summer and into fall camp, even going back into spring, we've been talking about the freshmen, the 2023 class that USC brought in. I guess recruiting hasn't been that bad. Perception is one person's reality. Let's talk about USC's recruiting and this 2023 class specifically. I'm not sure if their impact will be at the same level as USC's 2003 class 20 years ago. That was a loaded all-star team in hindsight. Just some of the names. Reggie Bush, LenDale White, T2, Terrell Thomas, Ryan Khalil, wide receiver Steve Smith, LoJack, Lawrence Jackson, Sam Baker, Thomas the Hitman Williams. Those are just some of the names. Those guys all made an impact. I'm starting to think the 2023 class could have a similar type of, I'm use the word again, impact at USC. The names: Zach Branch, Deuce Robinson, Tackett Curtis, Malachi Nelson, Braylon Shelby, Quentin Joyner, Alani Noah, Elijah Page, Jacoby Lane, Christian Pierce, Sam Green, Elijah Hughes. This is my dramatic pause so that can sink in. Yes, we're projecting a lot of potential, but we've mentioned these names quite frequently, and Lincoln Riley keeps bringing up the name Jacoby Lane. Caleb Williams keeps bringing it up. See where I'm going with this? Alani Noah, Elijah Page. You heard it in the first segment. They're already pushing. They might be the number 2 at their spots, left tackle, left guard, respectively. Excuse me. Noah's at left guard. Page is at left tackle. Sam Green, Braylon Shelby. These guys are difference makers. So when the Trojans walk into a stadium to play Ohio State in a game, whether it be the Cotton Bowl in Texas or in Columbus, Ohio, or the Coliseum, I don't want to ever hear another player or coach say, when they look across the field, we don't have anyone in our locker room that looks like that room, referring to Ohio State. I heard that said before. What's my point? USC is recruiting size again. I mean, what's not to like with what's going on with recruiting? Yes, every now and then you're going to take an L. You're going to get a commit to decommit. But again, signing day is until December, and then they have another one in February. That's when everybody should be white-knuckling it, getting really upset. What you need to be focused on right now, the team kicks off in less than 2 weeks. Lincoln Riley likes what he sees. And the fact that the defense is winning versus the offense, ask me if I'm upset. I'm not. Ask me if I'm concerned about the offense. I'm not. Everyone, take a deep breath. Take the highs, take the lows. Everything will be okay. And what do you do when you're a Trojan? That's right. So, until the next episode of Locked on USC, I'll be back with another one tomorrow. More information for you to kind of have to digest as we get closer and closer to the game. But until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do, and I look forward to talking to you then.